Sinasabi niyon lahat na the electric power rates in the Philippines are the highest in all of Asia, in all of Southeast Asia. Talaga bang totoo yon, Gerry?
Opo. Since actually, yun nga po yung irony since 2001 when we reformed the power sector. Ang objective was to reduce electricity rates through competition, etc. But unfortunately, tayo po yung pinakamataas, isa sa pinakamataas dito sa Southeast Asia.
But in 2001, pinakamataas na tayo.
Opo.
Ngayon, pinakamataas pa tayo. Have electric power rates on the whole been going up or been going down?
Well, in certain areas, may tumataas. Meron din pong na-retain niya or nagiging competitive siya. But what we want to clarify is, yung sinasabi natin na restructuring ng electric power industry na ginawa noong 2001 was to respond to a bigger problem that happened before. We had a financial problem sa government because of the electric power crisis. And nagkaroon po tayo ng mga mismanagement ng ating mga government assets patungkol sa mga generating power plants na may mga na-mothball na power plants na nandiyan na hindi pinatakbo. And so, nagkaroon tayo ng problema sa supply. So, it was both a financial and a technical problem that we had to address.
Hindi subsidized yung power rates natin, no? Unlike that of our ASEAN neighbors. Pangalawa, wala tayong plantang nuklear, no? Sapagkat ang plantang nuklear ay isa sa mga pinakamababang sources ng generation enerhiya, no?
What is the root of those problems?
Okay. The lack of transparency and then the lack of accountability.
Who was at fault? We have a national power corporation.
Yes, we had the National Power Corporation.
Did they have anything to do with this?
Yes.
Why?
The National Power Corporation incurred a lot of debts.
Ayon.
And they invested into a big investment, na Bataan Nuclear Power Plant.
Yeah.
And hindi siya natin pinatakbo kahit tapos na yung planta for one reason or another. And it also redounded to nang lumaki yung ekonomiya natin during the Cory Aquino time.
During that period, wala na tayong
nakulangan tayo ng supply ng kuryente, and it resulted to these brownouts.
Alright. But the government signed power agreements with generators much more than we needed.
Yes.
Ayon.
Yun ang naging part 2 after nagkaroon tayo ng power crisis. We had to talk to independent power producers, give us electricity immediately.
Okay.
So, yun po yung sinasabing supply and demand, mahal siya kasi sobrang grabe yung demand natin at the time.
So, you are actually saying that we would not have had so much of a power crisis had we used the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant,
That's one
which was already completed but which was never used, and we were paying for it.
Among the big problems.
And as a result of that,
Yes.
we had to get power generators, new power generators, fast.
Immediately.
And we had to,
And most of
and
them,
sumobra
ma'am,
naman.
and most of them, ma'am, are diesel kasi yun ang pinakamabilis na pwedeng makapasok kaagad.
That's how we started.
Yeah.
Because that power plant would have given us the capacity to restart the economy, but since it was not
Not commissioned. No?
Alright.
So it was promising a lower rate
Okay.
and a secure supply.
Okay. Now, we're the highest. Why are we the highest in Asia?
Siguro po, yung importante pong ipalutangin din is that mukhang nire-repeat natin yung mga dating problema eh. In a different setup.
Okay. What do you mean?
Yun lang pong problema natin na pumasok tayo sa mga napakamamahal na mga kontrata nung panahon na yon. Despite yung, syempre ang problema dahil brownouts, di ba? Parang jolted. It's a jolted decision.
Yeah.
Wala kang masyadong maayos na...
We were desperate for power. Yes.
At umuulit po yung kasaysayan eh.
Bakit?
At ito po yung isang nakikita naming problema dahil yung nakita po namin ng mga power supply agreements, despite yung forecast na pababa ng pababa ang mga bagong klase ng enerhiya, source ng enerhiya, which are basically renewables, ay doon pa rin sila nag-stick.
The people want to know, our viewers, they're saying, why is it ba napakamahal?
Ang nangyari po noon sa Napocor days, yung pangungontrata hindi masyadong na-check.
Alright. In other words, there was corruption.
There was a lot of items na details na hindi nakikita ng consumers.
Okay.
So the restructuring, we require now that we have to unbundle para makita natin, ma-pinpoint or paghiwa-hiwalayin yung mga items na makikita sa bill.
Alright.
Nasaan ba yung generation?
Okay.
Nasaan ba yung transmission? Nasaan ba yung distribution? Nasaan yung buwis?
Okay.
Ano pa yung mga ibang binabayaran? Para makita natin, ito yung inefficient, ito efficient, ito. Isa-isahin
Ayan.
po
So
natin.
we
yan.
have unbundled.
Yes.
We have unbundled. All right. What have we found?
Yes.
Where are we more expensive than the other countries?
Ang madalas na nakikita natin, mataas po yung buwis natin sa...
This generation charge comprises about 55%. That's the cost of generation. That's where your power supply agreements come into being.
Yes, yes.
And you're saying that the power supply agreements are really,
Dapat-
are really very bad for the government.
before. Meron na po siyang linya sa IPIRA na pinaliwanag kanina, yung distribution utility obligasyon
Hindi naman
to
in-implement
supply at the lowest rate at binabantayan dapat ng Energy Regulatory Commission. Pinasukan ng Department of Energy na mas stricto na competitive selection na process.
Oo.
Kailangan mong gawin bilang isang distribution utility ay hanapin yung tinatawag na most reasonable and the least cost possible. No? So yung binabayad ng consumer ay dumadaan lang sa Meralco kaya pass-through at riniremit doon sa mga producers ng kuryente. So iba't ibang planta yan.
Our costs comparative to the other countries' generation costs, higher or lower?
Sa generation cost natin,
much higher.
we can say that we are competitive. Okay?
We're competitive.
Yes.
So,
But ang sinasabi po kasi natin, kung ikukumpara na po natin sa ibang bansa, we also have to look at kung naka-unbundle yung kanilang...
no, obviously we cannot compare
Yes.
unless the other countries have also unbundled.
when we are comparing sa ASEAN yung ating mga components sa ating prices, ang sinasabi po natin, pinakamalapit tayo sa system ng Singapore. Pinakamalapit. Liberalized. So, malapit po yung rates natin doon. If we're
But Singapore is a very, very high-income country and we are a low-middle-income country. We cannot compare. What is the transmission charge?
Okay. Yung kung generation po, yan po yung parang power bank ng telepono natin.
Oo.
Okay? Yung wire po na yung, ng telepono natin papunta sa power bank, yun po yung wires na transmission,
Okay.
high voltage po yun. At pag malapit na sa cellphone or malapit na sa bahay natin, sa commercial or industrial user, nagkakaroon ng distribution, ida-downstep po siya para magamit na ni
Okay.
bahay,
So,
industriya at commercial.
Yung distribution, ayan ang charge ng Meralco. Ayan ang pumupunta sa Meralco.
Para pong ina-explain ng mga distribution utilities, yan po yung pagpapatakbo ng Meralco, yung mga lineman,
yung mga nagbibigay,
yung mga pag-maintain
Yeah.
ng wires.
May nakalagay naman dito kung ano-ano yung mga iba-ibang cost components. Nakalagay breakdown of electricity charges. At makikita nyo doon distribution Meralco. Dito sa bill na hawak ko, umaabot lang ng halos 16%. No? Ibig sabihin, the rest are pass-through charges.
Sa billing po natin, dito sa mga katulad nitong bill, lalabas namin yung uniform billing format na talagang na-itemize po siya para mas mabusisi nating isa-isa.
Hindi pa na lumalabas yun.
Meron namang pong pinalabas na yung ERC pero
Hindi
sinasama
pa.
na po natin sa electric cooperatives din na lahat na po, hindi lang Meralco.
Yes. But the point is,
Kasi nandun yung engagement with the consumers.
but the point is,
Pati
below
the deposits.
100%, 100 kilowatt hours, the electric the electric charges are really discounted. I'm consuming 20 kilowatt hours. I don't pay anything. Di ba? For those consuming 21 to 50 kilowatt hours, I pay 50% of the charge, etc. However, that subsidy is paid for by the richer consumers.
Yes,
But
yes.
that is what, up to 100%.
Yes.
20, ang 71 to 100 kilowatt hours, 20%.
Yung tinatawag na subsidized customers, ito yung mga residential consumers, no? Ito yung mga marginalized na tinatawag, no? Ranges from around 40 to 45% of the 6.5 million households. Now, as your consumption level goes up, syempre mas tumataas din particularly sa residential, tumataas din yung iyong konsumo, automatic yan, tataas din yung iyong bill.
Pag-usapan natin itong universal charge, ha?
costs.
Okay.
Yan po yung pinakamabigat.
Na-
Isa sa
this-
pinakamabigat.
Okay, which is anywhere to from 3 to 5% according to this. All right, about 5% of that 11.7 is universal charge. Ang ganda-gandang pakinggan, ano? Universal charge, binabayaran ito ang mga consumers. Okay, ano ba itong
Ito po yung stranded contract costs, stranded debts, at saka sa missionary. Tatlo
Okay,
po siya.
Let's talk about
Stranded.
itong stranded contract costs
And
and
stranded
stranded debts.
debts. Okay.
Ano yun?
Okay.
Because of the kabalbalan na nangyari sa Napocor with their contracts, etc., and their
Okay.
debt, tayo ang nagbabayad.
Okay. Pag assets
Bakit naman ang consumer ang nagbabayad para dyan? Hindi ba gobyerno yon? Dapat gobyerno ang magbayad nun?
Pag assets po, yun po yung stranded debts. Yung contract costs, yung mga pinasok na kontrata.
Napaka
May onerous at that
onerous
time. Oo.
for the government.
Because wala tayong, kulang tayo ng
Well,
supply.
you know, but that's the government's fault. Ayaw itaas yung electricity rates at that time, so they decided to make it stranded and let it be paid by the consumers.
And to make sure na hindi siya basta-basta lumulusot, you have a regulator to look into
Well,
or approve
you should
each
let
rate. Yeah.
you should let the regulator come in and charge it to Napocor or whatever it is, or the government, but it should not be paid by the consumers, because the consumer had nothing to do with those contracts, nothing to do with the onerousness of the That's my point only.
Yes.
All right.
That's why
What about the
Secretary-
missionary?
Yeah. Yun po yung pinapatingnan ni Secretary Cusi sa amin
I hope so.
na actually mag-start na ng public consultations dyan para mapababa yung
Okay.
mag-graduate yung
Oh,
universal charges missionary. Ang reason naman yan ay yung pag-inclusiveness or yung pagkakabit access to electrification
Yes.
sa bawat area. So,
Okay.
balancing
Access to
act
electricity.
again.
Why should the consumer of electricity now pay for that missionary? Pay for, let that come out in the future when the electricity comes out and then
Yes.
the consumers there pay. Why should we have to pay for it?
Yun yung
Dapat po, government mandate po
Of
yan.
course,
Responsibility
that's the
po na
government
bigyan ng
responsibility
kuryente
to
yung...
put electricity in the...
More than 2 million households pa rin po ang walang kuryente sa Pilipinas.
Actually, parang
So, dapat-
naririnig ko nga si Secretary Cusi sa inyo, ma'am. Kaya talagang pinapa
Oh,
ganun.
yes.
Pero
Why should
ang
we
isa
pay
ang
this
isa
na
pong
ganyan?
problem,
Why should we charge
ang isa pong
this?
problema nung missionary part po na 'yon
5%.
is that majority po ng kuryente na dinideploy nila doon ay diesel.
Ano itong systems loss
Ayan, isa pa po
and
yan.
tariff allowance? Why should the consumer pay for the inefficiency of the distribution facilities?
Dalawa po yan. May
Cannot be.
technical at saka may non-technical. Yung systems loss po. Ito po yung pagdi-deliver na nagkakaroon ka ng loss or
Yes.
ng friction or parang
Whatever it is.
basically parang timba, pag-deliver mo may tumatapon, yun yung systems loss. Okay? So technical, allowed po talaga yan kasi it's part of the science. So yun yung pinapababaan ni
So for
Secretary.
30 years, we have been
Kasi nag-i-improve
saddled.
na rin yung technology.
Okay.
Yung ating system loss level as of June 2018 has gone down to 5.71%. The lowest in the history of Meralco. And we are allowed under the law to recover up to 8.5%. being a private distribution utility. Ngayon, yung difference na yung 8.5% sa 5.7 ay actually savings na sa consumers.
Non-technical loss, yun yung talagang babantayan natin. Pilferage, tsaka yung mismanagement.
All right.
Yan.
How much of this how much of the system's loss is non-technical?
About half of that.
All right.
About
So,
half, roughly.
about 3%. In other words, our bill, our electricity bill can be reduced by 8%
Yeah.
right off the bat.
Okay.
Right? Because these represent charges that we should not have